Hi, everyone. Welcome to the After Church Tea Time. I hope you guys we all hope you enjoyed Leanna's amazing sermon on inner child, the real purpose of your inner child. I guess just like open the floor to everybody here. Like, how was it? What'd you guys think? Like, what's been on your mind as you've kind of gone deeper into this topic for yourself during the sermon?
I'll speak first. So, hi, I'm Christine. Yeah, it was a really good topic. And for me personally, play and like using my creativity in this way, gaming also has been like a huge part of my life and especially my spiritual journey because play is so refreshing. Like even as an adult, yes, you need to work and you need to take care of all those basic things. But if you're not feeling good on the inside, which play really helps you with, you're not able to be as productive or as creative when it comes to your job, when it comes to all those things. Yes, it's a very important topic and it's not spoken about nearly enough, I've noticed.
Yeah, I can share too. My name is Anupama. I loved the flow of today's sermon, from the meditation to the card reading, and to the message given by Lau and Alex, and the sermon itself. And I really loved the card reading, the cards that Kanisha pulled. It really resonated because on this journey, what prompted me to call out to God and to start this journey was that feeling of loneliness. And that was the first card she pulled out, loneliness and feeling this emptiness inside. And then calling out to God, because of this deep desire to want to be with God. And then, of course, receiving the twin flame. And then, of course, receiving the nuances of the journey, which is the blocks coming up. And so, therefore, still feeling that, lonely feeling, and then finally being guided to connect to the inner child. And that was really where the loneliness started to disappear, with this connection being made with this part of me that was always wanting love and seeking love on the outside from her parents, from her siblings, from her friends or relatives, and not receiving it, and therefore rejecting herself, and that continuing as a teenager, as an adult, and never understanding that this empty feeling is just that, and coming into that space and now connecting with my inner child has really dissipated that loneliness to such a huge degree. So that really really resonated with me, and then it led to the next card of her saying trust. And yeah, it's about really trusting that your inner child knows the answers to what is making you sad all the time. It's not that we really like, that's what we say, we don't need our twin flames in that way, like to fill us. We need something else, like we need that love, and that love is within us. And it need not be this, like as adults, like Liana said in the sermon too, as adults we just start facing this mundane routine that we started having ever since school. Like, it's just a routine: wake up, go to school, come back, do your homework, play a little, go to sleep, and then the routine continues. And as an adult, you get into a job and it's the same routine, and there's not much time left for anything else. So connecting with our inner child, we need to trust that there's a reason why that is such an integral part of this journey. Because connecting with that play aspect, maybe, your inner child, from feeling this disconnection, never really played to her or his heart's content. Was maybe never really encouraged. Like what Lao said, that was when he started to work, when he was a child himself. And I remember as a child, like, that was when I started taking so much of responsibility of myself, taking care of, getting my school clothes ready, doing my homework myself, and not really playing much because we lived in an apartment, and We never really went outside to play, or playing was, I don't know, maybe watching a few cartoons on TV, so really trusting that why this inner child healing is so integral, and understanding that your inner child is not just a child to be dismissed. Because when you look at children, children day to day, they just show you that they are highly intelligent. They do have this deep connection still to the divine, and they don't take things as seriously as we do. When you give a child something, it's not that the child has lost interest and therefore discarded the toy. It's because the child has taken in that moment exactly what that toy is about, understood it completely, and then realized that it doesn't serve me anymore. Let me move on to the next one. Unlike, sometimes what we do is, let me just find a way to make it serve me, trying. And, that's what brings this mundane thing, whereas children just keep it so light. And that, when we look at children around us, they always amaze me, like, with their connection with God. Like, they don't sit in the upset. They move on. Once they're given a solution, they move on and they're happy again. They love again. Whereas we kind of sit and brood and, you know the drill. So trusting that, our inner child can really get us through this, what we feel are the challenges in our life, by giving us, the divine solutions. Because as children, we were also so deeply connected to the divine. We just didn't know it then. So, that trust. And then lastly, the humor card that really connected it all, like in a neat little thing. Because I was like, yeah, that's why I said children don't sit in the upset. They go back to the humor, the fun of it, playing the game. Like, if the toy breaks, they may cry for a while, but then after some time you ask them, aren't you sad anymore? No, I found another way to finish the game, or I found something else to keep me happy. And we're like, wow, it's that simple, isn't it? And then finding the humor in things. Like, children don't think twice to express themselves. Like a baby, if they want something, they just scream, and then everyone in the room makes the baby the focal point of their attention. And then the baby may just laugh, like, oh, I got your attention, ha ha ha, I just wanted to laugh, that's why I got your attention. It's so much fun being around children. That fun aspect is never lost. And that's why it's so important. I love the sequence, like, the loneliness, the trust, the humor, like, it's all connected. Like, if you want to get rid of the loneliness, connect with your inner child, reconnect, and trust that the connection is there for a reason, and you're being asked to reconnect for a reason. Because the humor, the love, the kindness that you wanted is there with your inner child, and they can take you back there. And life is not meant to be, mundane, the routine, the bore, whatever. It's meant to be that fun that maybe you didn't get to have as a child. Maybe you didn't have the opportunities, or maybe you couldn't go out or have those kind of, or you didn't have friends, like that was for me. I didn't have people my same age, to enjoy this. Maybe you didn't have that then, but and as a child you had to depend on someone to give you those. But as an adult, you don't have to anymore. You can just take your inner child and do those things. And I love what Liana mentioned about, the games and the bouncy castles, because I remember enjoying playing games, but I didn't know if it was something that I wanted to do. But bouncy castles, I loved those. And I've always stopped myself as an adult, because I was like, if I have to go into a bouncy castle, I'd have to bend over to even enter one, because they're small. So maybe, if it was an adult size one, I would still go. And, but I remember it being so much fun to just jump and, be floating in the air for those few seconds and then falling down and not falling, coming back again, till you decided. So it was really, really nice. I really enjoyed the sermon. It really took me to this aspect of me that I've been struggling with, intimacy. When you break down intimacy, it is that into me see. And this is what I needed to see, that, my inner child is my key to intimacy, because that is what I want. I want this deep connection, and I can't get it. I can't even expect it from my twin flame because I have to give it to myself. And where to give it from? Like, it's already inside me. I just have to see in, you know? And that just takes me to this, wonderful quote, but showing us the paradox that we are in, which is, it's a quote by Shoaib Rumi, that strange is our notion of freedom, for which children seek adulthood and adults their inner child. And it's so true, because as a child, I couldn't wait to be an adult. And now as an adult, I'm just wishing I was a child again, you know? So yeah, so you can still be a child. Like, just connect with that inner child. Trust that, that connection is going to give you everything you want. And just remember the humor, the fun. You don't have to think of it as lost days or days gone and never to come. You can have it even now. So that's why this sermon was like really good for me. I really enjoyed it.
I love what you said. And one of the things that like came up for me, a list comes up a lot for me sometimes, because I'm very childlike in this way. But then I also like have this sense of, well, I like adult things, right? Mm-hmm. And like you said, like I wanted to be an adult. And I think the thing that we love about adulthood is independence.
Yeah.
Right? The independence that, adulthood brings. And then being a child, it's the play. Yeah. It's the, right? So it was like, how can I have both freedom and independence, but also have play? Exactly. And, what comes up for me, like, as you were talking about stuff of this like mundane thing, right? School or work, and how it was like a mundane routine. There is a divine routine. It's not the fact that it's a routine that's the problem. It's what you're doing that's the problem. Yeah. So, like that's why life purpose class is so amazing. I feel like Leanna actually mentioned life purpose class. I can't remember. But in life purpose class, like Jeff even talks about like how, to bring play and fun in your work environment. And if you're not having fun with what you're doing, then you're not doing your life purpose, right? Like you're just not doing it right.
Yeah.
And so like, I thought about that and it was like, yeah, like, and what I'm doing every day is fun, right? Can I find the fun in cleaning? I know when I was a little kid, I'd be using my pretend vacuum to clean, being silly, right? Why is that not fun now, right? And just thinking about like responsibilities, mm-hmm. which I think is one of the things that people tend to be like, well, I want to be a kid because I don't want responsibilities. One thing I've really learned over the past few months is that through having more responsibility, you actually expand your peace and expand your abundance. And, responsibility doesn't have to be bad, because responsibility is the more responsibility you claim, the more support you get from God, right? Mm-hmm. There's nothing that like you can't do that God's not able to support. And so it's just like, as a child, depending on God, putting your dependence in God, right? I think as we grow up, we put a dependence on our parents and create codependent relationships, which then kind of bring us into adulthood, where we're like, wait, we don't have the thing we've been codependent on this entire time to help us. But the truth is what we've been learning the whole time is that actually you can have a codependent relationship with God, because God can serve you and support you in all these ways that a parent or a person never could, right? And so, it's about like being a child of God, mm-hmm. not a child of a person, right? And that's something that like, I think we all are beginning to learn, and to start raising children in this way where they see, the beauty of their own independence within, right? And I've seen a lot of like people in our community who have children have like brought the mirror exercise to them and spoken to them like an adult, an intelligent, independent adult responsible for their own feelings and choices. And in those places, those kids feel really supported and loved in that place, right? And so I think we're all kind of learning like your age doesn't really matter, how much responsibility you have at what time, what your position is, or anything like that. Like because ultimately we have God, and we can have fun in that, right? It doesn't have to be this dreary life. Yeah, so that's just like kind of what I've come to learn about, after watching the sermon. And it just shows me how like how much like we're all just children of God, like and that's really the point of it, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and you don't have to stop having fun just because of an age or the number. And you're right about the responsibility. We can take responsibility for our own fun now and give it to us when we want it. We don't have to wait anymore for anybody or wait for the particular time or day of the week to have this fun.
Yeah, that was a big thing. And for me also, claiming more responsibility also brought more freedom in a way. It might sound weird, but the more responsibility I claim, the more free I feel, because I don't need to depend on anybody else to like buy my clothes or make my meals or anything like that. I'm responsible for that, and it feels really good. And another thing that I've been working through lately is viewing my parents as my brother and sister in God instead of my source, because God is our source at the core, right? And our parents are also children of God, and it's unfair to like place them in this pedestal of they're my source and I need to depend on them for my good. When, yeah, no matter how codependent their relationship looks like, they want their independence too. They want to claim God as their source too at the core, because that's the natural order of things.
I really love
Yeah,
that
I
you brought
felt
that up.
thanks. Yeah, I felt sharing like I feel like children mostly have a good sense of surrender because they are really connected to the feelings instead of, like Anu said in the beginning, uh, they don't think, they just feel what is the next step of how they want to have fun and how they want to feel themselves, like make themselves feel good. So that's why Ray, as you said too, like we're all children of God, and even if we are like mature, and even if you have a bird, or even if you have a bigger body, etc., we still like are the same children, and like only the illusion of ego through whatever like can tell you that, oh, okay, you don't do that because you're a big guy, big girl. Only kids do that. So that's why it's the most beautiful thing of this is like, even when you are a little kid, when you play like with your toys, with your cars, it's just you being the same person when you drive your cars, when you get to like have a job and buy that car. So it's the same thing but a different lifestyle. So that's why we are all children of God, and that feels really good to live in the same way all the time, like connecting to our feelings like all children do.
Yeah.
And uh, I feel like saying that when children like achieve like a certain age, when they start to like believe, like get into more of the separation consciousness, like believe in that, and how the mind changes from like how the children when they were really like small, how they used to feel about certain things. And that's how you see that like uh, how like what karma people have and what they need to heal, what they need to clear, and in order to get back to like fully to God, and really like clear all of the separation stuff they have within them, to like fully claim their spot, like their place in heaven on earth, as like fully like claiming fully their innocence as children of God. So yeah, I felt saying this.
I wanted to say also something that I was thinking that like stuck with me when Leanne said it in the sermon. It was about how when we are small, we feel like we have this support from our parents, and that when you get a certain age, then you don't have that support anymore. So you have like to struggle and you have to work and all these responsibilities, but God doesn't leave you when you turn 18 or 21, whenever you're legal in any state.
Yeah.
God is still there. He provides for you. And yeah, like nothing changes.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. God doesn't leave you. And God is the one encouraging you to get back in touch with this inner child again, to be childlike, not childish, but be childlike, big difference. That I learned early on this journey, because it's important to understand what it means to be childlike, to be that in that zone where everything is just, that wonder without getting into that high zone. It's it was amazing. I mean, there's just so much of good to talk about today's topic.
Even
This
like
also reminds me. Oh, go on.
No, go on.
Okay. Yeah, this also reminds me there's this part in the Bible where Jesus says that those who are like children are blessed because they inherit the kingdom of heaven. And yeah, that's a very important thing, because heaven is fun. Heaven also has play in it. So when you're childlike and you also claim your innocence and have more space for play and fun, even when you do your work, your life purpose work, this is fun too. So this is how you claim more heaven.
Yeah, and like when you mention like you're living your life purpose, and like as we all know, like from Jeff and Shaleia, like living your life purpose is just not just a certain moment that you get to live your life purpose. You always live, and it's always like in a building process. Just like, yeah, it's always expanding, just like your overall healing. So yeah, I was saying like when well, for example, when I wake up and when I have to do stuff during my day, and when I have a certain order, uh, which is like based from the divine order, like following that feeling, that good feeling of what I want to do, even though I have a certain thing in my mind that I think of doing in that day, I always like see it in a really joyful way, like just a child who wants to go to a park and just like first try like climbing a tree, then like I don't know, like ice skating, whatever that park has. So yeah, I see it really as a adventure, as a trip, and even if from outside looks something really boring to do, like just to go supermarket, get some stuff, then go to another place, do something else. I really like enjoy everything I do, because I see it like a really big adventure, and then I think about it. Oh, I will get back home and I will like watch a movie and my day will be fun. And so yeah, that feels really good. Like to even when you're really like mature, like it feels really good to treat your life like that, because it should be fun, of course.
Yeah, it doesn't have to feel heavy.
And it doesn't have to feel like it's like a burden of doing things.
It's not a punishment. Life is joy. Life is love. It's a gift.
Yeah.
It's a miracle, actually. So it needs to be seen as that.
That's why also like it feels really good, like to just do the mirror exercise all the time when it's needed, because that's how you invite more real life into your life.
Yeah, more inner child.
Yeah,
because I feel like most of the upsets come from the inner child. So it's where like the inner child calls you to heal, and it's safe. Like as Anupama said before, and Lian also, it's safe like to go there and just like love that part of ourselves.
Yeah, and like we couldn't, like, as I see, like we couldn't heal if we wouldn't like go to that place of our inner child, because as I see it, besides inner child there is no other thing, because like only your inner child is love. Something like the opposite of your inner child is ego. So
it doesn't exist.
yeah, so it's like equivalent like to inner child with healing.
Yeah, I love what you said. Your inner child is love. And that's what, when we were children, we had this unconditional love feeling. It was only as we grew up that we started following conditions and started giving love only under certain conditions, because that's what we were gradually trained to believe, that love shouldn't just be given freely, anymore. So yeah, it's so important to reconnect. And I was just thinking of some of the things I loved in the park, like, because I think we mentioned parks. I think one of my three of my favorite things to do were the seesaw, the slide, and the merry-go-round, because it was just so freeing, like to swing. I mean, they all have to do with feeling free. Like, you can just sit on the seesaw and or we had and the swing, yes, and the swing, because I remember in this park we had this swing which was a seesaw plus a swing. It was the most interesting game in the park, because you needed two people but you could also swing at the same time. Just that freedom of just flying through and having that pure joy of just being free, going back to that space and enjoying it over and over. I guess that's also why a lot of people love the roller coaster, and you know, uh, bungee jumping and jumping out of an aeroplane. What's that called? Skydiving. Yeah. So, it's just that feeling of being ultimately free. And that's what we get by reconnecting with our inner child. We reconnect with those joys, that freedom, that love, unconditional love. And that's what this journey is all about. Going back to being God's innocent child.
Yeah.
And that's how we receive everything also. When you want to manifest, you manifest from a space of joy, gratitude, and happiness, and that unconditional love. So it's the key. If we're looking for a key on this journey, this is your key. Unlocks every lock.
Yeah, it's get like not keeping, but feeling the spirit of everything we do, even if you're mature. Like a lot of kids want to be like astronauts when they like get bigger, and sometimes I see that people achieve their dreams, but the spirit of their dreams is not there. Like the spirit is killed because their inner child is not there. So that's really important thing to like live your dream, but in spirit, not in only from outside, but both ways as one.
I think really it's not even about like your inner child being there. It's just about God being there. Like I feel like that's really what it is at the ultimate, because even children have issues and upsets and like stuff like that. I don't want everyone to like think like, oh, the kids got it right and the adults, they got it bad, right? Like I think the kids are more in tune with the vibration of like what it is, because they're from this place of freedom, is from this place of relaxation and fun and play, because that's what we've told them that they're allowed to do. You're allowed to do this until you're 18 and then you're on your own, right? But realistically, the language of how, or like the perception of how society views the world needs to change, right? And that starts with us and how we look at the world. And that is that you get to play your whole life. You get to be free your whole life. And how do you do that? You do that by doing it with God, right? Because God's going to guide you to each step, each thing. And where God guides, what? He provides, right? Like, so, if like you want to go to the park and go on the swing, like God's going to like provide that for you and make an opportunity for you to do that. The same thing goes with money too. I think Leanna talked about this too, like money stuff we're just bringing up. And one of the things that like came up for me when she said that was, I was like, yeah, that's a big deal, right? When you're a kid, you don't got to worry about money, right? You just go, mommy, daddy, I want that thing. I want that toy. And even if they said, no, sorry, you can't have that toy. Well, why not? Why can't I have that toy? That's what I want, right? And there's something to that, right? And it's not like we have to separate, because sometimes people, I think, see that as entitlement, and can like almost fall into that pattern of entitlement of like, well, I deserve it all. Well, yes, like it's like you do deserve it all, but it's this gratitude, which I think Anupam, I think you were saying, like when you desire something from a place of gratitude and joy, and like you receive there, that's how you receive it, right? Which is what you were saying too, Anupama. And yeah, like I just, for me, it's just become like very clear that like what children show us and what it means to like be with your inner child is to really just be with God, to be with the part of you that recognizes that you're a divine child of God, that you deserve everything you desire because the desire was placed by God, that you are enough, that you are worthy, right? Like all these things. And yeah, so it's I think that's what society sometimes forgets, right? And I think that that's why there's, there's all these different types of religions or practices to try and help people come back to that place of union with God, which is what we're all about, right? And yeah, it's just as simple as that, as going back to that place of remembering that you are a child of God, remembering your divinity, remembering that you have God, that God is your support system, God is your mother and father.
I also love like how Manny was brought up, because I've noticed when I was a kid, I would overhear the adults be like, oh, I have to go to work and I hate my job. And like in a way, money is not equated with fun. It's like something you have to do in order to have fun later. And yeah, that's a huge thing consciousness is healing right now. And that's why, as we mentioned, life purpose class, it's living your life purpose and really earning money from that is the way to have fun while also bringing in that money so you can support yourself even more, so you can give even more of your gift. And yeah, it's a really beautiful thing that's how the universe works. And I'm just so grateful that God is so good to provide this way for all of us to do that.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And when we spoke about, jobs being mundane, it's because the spirit goes out of it, because it becomes just this means to earn that livelihood, to make that money. And this heaviness is because we think we have to do it for certain number of hours a day, a week, and for certain number of years. And that takes the fun out of anything, thinking that there is some there is some price you have to pay to get this thing that you like, and also when you said about money, yeah, I remember like when I wanted the toy or wanted something, I would think twice, because money doesn't grow on trees, so, and I would look at this plant we had in our house, which was ironically called a money plant, and I was like, why was it called a money plant then, if it doesn't grow on trees? I didn't know any better as a child, but I remember this stuck in my head, that why is it called a money plant? And it looked like money too, because the leaves were green and had yellow in between, like. But yeah, it's good to what you said about money is again a vibration of this unconditional love and joy and gratitude that you have, and it need not be something that is a burden to earn, or a pain to earn. When you are living your true life purpose with God, then money is like a beautiful side effect of it, to put a nice spin on the word side effect, because generally side effect is associated with, oh, don't want. But money is a beautiful part of that, when you live your true life purpose, and like you said, Ray, with God all the time, it's fun, it's enjoyable. You're not counting the hours, you're not tabulating how many years you're going to be doing this, till you're just enjoying, and the money just comes in, and it's perfect for everything you want the money for. So yeah, it's wonderful.
I love that you mentioned this, because I think it's like so important for anyone who's like struggling with like going into their inner child and having play. I think sometimes people will just go, I'm just going to quit my job and I'm going to live off my money, or I'm going to just try to make this company and that's going to be what saves me, or whatever, right? And it's just like, it's not about like getting out of the job or the thing, right? Like, it's the intention behind it. A lot of people right now are doing jobs that are very likely their life purpose, right? But the reason why it feels so mundane to them is because of the intention behind it. I'm in it for the money, not in it for the joy. I'm not in it for giving to God, because yes, you being an accountant at a firm, being a lawyer at a law firm, you being a nurse at a hospital, you being the fry cook at the McDonald's, all those things are serving God,
Mhm.
right? And so when you change your perception and you change your view about your job, and you just bring joy to that and you have fun doing that, then that vibration goes up, it's raised, right? And so then therefore the company that you're at or the place that you're at starts getting more money, starts having a better, people start coming into the McDonald's, people start going to your law firm or your accounting thing, and then you start seeing the money, and then maybe you get a raise, right? Like, all of these things come from your intention.
Absolutely.
Right? And so, if you're in a place, like you're watching this, you're in a place where you're like, well, how do I bring more, of my inner child to life? Again, it's just bringing God into your life and saying, am I doing this for God? That should be my intention, not I'm doing this for money so that I can like feed my family and have a house and attend to my responsibilities. Yes, all of that stuff will happen. That stuff is God's responsibility. Your responsibility is to be doing the thing that God's guiding you to. That's your responsibility, just one responsibility. And then God takes care of the rest when you follow that one responsibility.
True. And then the boss is nice, and the colleagues are nice too. It's a win-win. You don't hate them anymore. You enjoy going to work every day because you're doing it with God, and everything is working out. It's always a win-win. Nobody has to lose when you do it with God.
Yeah, and also it's not even about like switching jobs if you hate your job, because in order to fully get out of a situation, you need to transcend it, and that's a spiritual thing. It's not about tending the outside, because if you were miserable at your old job, you'll be miserable in your own company, you'll be miserable anywhere else.
True.
Happiness is an inside job. It needs to come from you first. So yeah, like
do that job first.
do that job first, find the happiness, and then everything else, like God will provide, as Ray said. So
True.
I wanted to talk a little bit about and bring up the topic of like people like feeling like a kid or a baby, because I feel like this is like a common upset that people have, where they're like, I'm not being treated like an adult, right? I think a lot of millennials have this too, because like they're always being told like, well, you still live at home with your parents, or whatever the case may be, right? And it's like this, this making fun of the fact that you're a child or that you're childlike. I just was wondering, like, has anyone experienced that? What's been your healing behind that? Like, based on like what Leanna has provided today in the sermon.
Yeah, that's what I said earlier. Like, I had to differentiate between being childlike versus being childish. Childish is when you're acting from that entitled place, and thinking that you owe me this because I'm a divine child of God. Come on, that's being childish. But childlike is reveling in the wonder that is God, and and believing and having that faith that you can have it all, you know, because that's how children are. They do believe that they can have it all. And mm, I mean, if you take a baby, that's how babies are. Like, you know, if you go before the speaking age, or before the child starts to walk, you know, actually pick things. And babies are like that. They know they can have it all. They know that important. You know, so I guess that's also understanding that distinction of what it means when we say be a child of God. It's not about throwing those tantrums. You know, that's being childish. So yeah. I don't know if someone else would like to share on this
So
too.
I'm
Yeah, I'll
just
share
gonna
about
kind of
this.
like, I just want to kind of like wrap up like what you were saying real quick. So basically what you're saying is like being childish is kind of like being like the kid that is codependent on mom and dad. So like basically codependency. And then
And
like being childlike is like being like a child of God. So a
yeah,
child of the world and a child of God.
yeah, and also being that, you know, we're codependent, and also like, you know, wanting it your way, and going by that ideal of either my way or the highway. Take a pick. You know, that is that, you know, it's maybe being, what do you want to be? Do you want to be a child of God, or not? You
Child
can't
of the
be a child
world.
of ego, but you know, to
No, but
bring
really,
that differentiation.
but essentially like that's what that is, right? Like child of the world, right?
Yeah.
The world and like what, you know, what society puts
Yeah.
out there as to what a child is. Wow, I love that. Sorry, Christine, go ahead and take it away.
Yeah, sure. So I've noticed it's mostly in other cultures because personally I was born and raised in Greece. So we move out way later in life than most other cultures because of the economic crisis and all that. So yeah, I feel it has to do again with what Anupama mentioned about codependency, and it's okay to live with your parents a bit longer as you get established in the workplace and all that, or as you work on your education. Also, it's great to have the support, but it also helps to remember that this support does not come from your parents themselves. Like it looks like on the outside this way, but it's actually coming from God. So you can, like, for example, go to college and have a better career and support yourself and give to God in this way. Or, yeah, whatever it is that you do. It's not your parents themselves, it's God through your parents, or it could be through anybody else. And it's important to stay open to the support. And it doesn't matter if it looks like, oh, you still live with your parents, whatever, because at the core, it's God supporting you.
Yeah, I wanted to share an experience I had before joining TFAS with my parents, and before like knowing what actually God is. So yeah, my parents were always like treating me like Ray asked, how did like something like this happen to you guys? Like when your parents like treat you as a little kid, or like something like this. So yeah, my parents were treating me like I have to be codependent to them to achieve something, because they didn't trust me that I was like mature enough to like build my own life. And after joining the school, and after like starting to do my inner work, and like starting to get my own job, and like starting to live a life in a separate house from them, actually with my twin flame, their behavior towards me started to change in the meantime, because I was seeing that as I was doing my inner work, and I was trusting myself that I am worthy, and I am enough, and I am mature enough to like build my own life. That was like getting reflected back from them, and they started like, even now they like treat me a lot different from how they were treating me like 3 years ago, only because I spiritually grew, and that my healing like is reflected like back from their behavior towards me. And now they really like kind of like when they want to ask me something, or when they want to like get to form a relationship with me.
I think Andy froze. So
Yeah, I think so too.
I think in this times, till we wait for them to come back, I just quickly go through the difference between childish and childlike. Childish is usually meaning being immature, like getting easily upset or overwhelmed or having trouble, calming yourself down when things don't go your way. Maybe needing more, that entitled kind of feeling. Whereas childlike is trusting or innocent and refers to more like positive qualities, like trusting in, I mean, like I said, the wonder that is God, having the faith that, things can happen, and not putting limitations to your imagination, and, thinking outside the box, and be expectant without acting entitled, experiencing joy in the moment, accepting and embracing others, saying what's on your mind, but with compassion, and let other people help you. So even asking for support, and trusting and having faith. This is what differentiates a childlike from childish. I had to learn this early on because, when if my twin flame wasn't behaving in a certain way, I would throw a temper tantrum and I'd be like, I'm a child of God, I'm entitled to behave this way. But that's not it. And your twin flame being your ultimate, like the mirror, would reflect that. And so I looked up these meanings early on and decided, I'm still learning through it, of course, when upsets come up, just seeing whether I'm being, what I'm being. But yeah, it's a good differentiation to have. Andy, you were saying something earlier when you froze. You'd like to continue?
Yeah, I was just like wrapping up the thing that when like I started like to do the healing work and like to start to know God, uh, I started like to claim my own divine maturity, and that was like kind of started to reflect with my parents, and they started to have a really respectful relationship with me with boundaries, and they just didn't tell me what to do, but they asked me if I was willing to do a certain thing. And so yeah, I was saying that when like people treat you is in like child as a child, and when you are like, oh, don't treat me like that, or when they tell you like grow up, is just a mirror, like we all know, to just like go inside within yourself and feel into that, how you are feeling about that. And when you heal, as we know, that your relationships with people change as well.
Yeah, that was lovely. True. Absolutely right. Mhm. It's wonderful when relationships evolve, and everyone is given due respect, and everyone can be themselves and be in their true divinity.
Yeah, I feel like that's a very important part of coming into adulthood. And I've noticed many adults don't really have this relationship with their parents. They still have this codependency, even when they're like in their 40s, in their 50s, even. And it's not very healthy. It should be not codependent. Like everybody has their independence, and seeing each other as a child of God, as an equal, instead of, oh, I'm here, my parents are here, I need to do everything to please them, right? Because you can't really please anyone. And at the core, it's not about pleasing your parents, it's about pleasing God and yourself, of course, being happy.
Yeah. True.
And it's also important that some parents will be like, oh, you should do this to make me happy. But yeah, their happiness is not the responsibility of the child. Their happiness is their own responsibility. Like your happiness is your responsibility. So by really embodying this and really setting this example of, hey, I'm responsible for my happiness and you should really claim responsibility for yours, that's a really divine thing. And it's showing everyone that, hey, we're all equal here.
Yes, and you'll always be children to your parents, but you don't need to behave like a child because of that with them. Just like you'll always be a child of God, but like we were saying, you can be childlike and you can trust that that relationship is going to keep evolving, and you don't have to behave childish in either case. You can respect and love and be responsible for your happiness, and everyone will then stop mirroring to you the places where you need to grow up, like you said, Andy. So yeah, it's good. This is an amazing topic to be here to discuss. God is always perfect. He knows who to bring together for each sermon. I needed to listen to this, and it was great to hear what you all had to share and to be able to share too about what the sermon has opened up for me. So it's wonderful. God knows his children really well.
Yeah, thank you for sharing.
Thank you all.
Yeah, thank you. It feels very good and very grounding also.
Yeah, I feel complete. It's been very healing, very revealing and very healing.
Yeah, I think I feel complete too. Does anybody else want to share?
No.
No, we're all complete.
To look at more places where I can have more fun as an adult. Maybe look for a bouncy castle that fits an adult.
Yeah.
Or something similar.
Yeah, they got trampolines and stuff. So
Yeah, I was just going to say trampolines. There is some area here. It's a little far away, but they've laid out trampolines side by side in different sizes, and you can just jump from one. I saw that online, and I was like, it's too far to drive, the adult part of me. But now maybe just check it out at least once and see how it feels. Yeah.
Perfect. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining
Thank you.
this discussion, and also in the comments, and also those of you who are watching but not commenting.
Yeah, thank you guys. Yeah,
Enjoy
and
the
make
rest of your
sure,
Sunday.
yep, and make sure everybody watches this next week at the Sunday sermon, and that you like this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel as well.
Yep.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.